Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Shiv. Okay, so today we're going to be taking a look at the Crane Patron. Now, what is the Crane Patron? Well, it's the deck that took Crane from London Conspiracy to rank 1 EU on the ladder. Now, this is a pretty good achievement. Earlier in the day, I do know for a fact that Game King from Fate to Karma also held that position. So, yeah, rank 1 in the EU is a highly contested place. So, getting there is kind of difficult. Alright, so what makes this deck unique? What makes this deck special? What makes this something you should actually probably try out? Well, for one, I hate Patron. I can't stand it. I don't know, maybe it's the fact that when it was an OTK deck, it left such a bad taste in my mouth, I just really hated it. So I never really took the time to learn the mechanics, but I watched enough of it that it's pretty much ingrained in my brain. But now that, Warsong Commander has been nerfed to, thank God, levels, the deck actually becomes more about building board. And it does it pretty decently. So I really do like it now a lot better. And because I've seen so much of it played back when it was OTK and when it's not an OTK, I've kind of learned most of the right plays for it and most of the times when you just need to armor up. So I've actually been having some really good success. I was able to take this through the low ranks up to 10 quite nicely. And we'll be actually showing a little bit of the gameplay here in a little bit. But let's go over the deck. And again, this is Crane's design. It's a little bit weird, a little bit wonky. I was able to pull this off of Twitter thanks to some little friendly banter between Firebat and him. Thank you, James. So let's go through this. First off, we've got the Inner Rage. This is pretty much standard in any kind of Patron deck. It's a really great card. You can use it as an activator for, say, Execute, or to kind of grow your patrons. Most likely, grow your patrons. Because you can use this and get, like, 4 patrons out with Whirlwind, or using Deathbite on turn 5 and things of that nature. So, yeah, really good card. Execute, obviously already going over there. Whirlwind, this is an activator to spawn more patrons. And also, if you've got things like Acolyte of Pain, Frothing Berserker, or Armorsmith, this can get you a lot of extra armor, or so on. So I really do like it. Now here's the one of the cool techs. This deck actually has 2 cool techs in it that I think are really fucking cool. Sir Finley Murgleton. Now, you might think, okay, so you get to change your hero power, but don't you need your hero power as a warrior to kind of stave off aggro? Yes, you do in the beginning. But as you hit about mid to late game, you don't need it as much. And having the ability of spending, say, 2 mana to ping a patron to grow it before you do a Whirlwind means you're not so reliant on having the Inner Rage, which means you can kind of play around with it a little bit more in the early game, but you do run a risk here, alright? You do run a risk. But other than that, this card is actually quite good. I've used it with the Mage Hero Power, fucking phenomenal. I've used it with the Priest Hero Power, fucking phenomenal. Shaman, not so much. Paladin, not so much, but it did lead to some really interesting armor gain, which I was able to win the game either way, but it was a rough go at it. Druid, again, not as much. Hunter, holy shit, you want to talk pure aggro? There you go. Fucking the Hunter hero power was disgusting because of aggro potential. So yeah, there's a lot of really good hero powers you can get, and a lot of really shit ones you can get as well. Rogue being a notable one on that list. Alright. Fiery War Axe, because it's pretty much standard in every warrior design since like day 1. And it works. Battle Rage, card draw. Now, obviously patrons and things of that nature, you're going to have a lot of minions out there. Most likely they're going to be injured through whirlwind effects, and Battle Rage makes a lot of sense. Slam. Now, there's 2 theories of using Slam. You can use it to go for the card draw and possibly an Execute follow-up. Yes. Or you can use it to remove something, say, like a Knife Juggler, which could be a little bit too much damage in the early game for you to deal with if you don't have yourself a Fiery War Axe. Both are acceptable. Though most of the time, you're really going to want to use this for the fucking card draw. Armorsmith, because armor is life for a warrior. Unstable Ghoul. Again, whirlwind effects are key to this deck. Acolyte of Pain. Okay, look at all the whirlwind effects. Yeah, it makes sense. Also, going back to the whole Sir Finley Mergleton, Mage Hero Power plus Acolyte of Pain, we already know that's a great thing. But the Priest Hero Power also is a good thing because you can continuously get more value out of the Acolyte of Pain. This is actually a nightmare scenario for a lot of classes, and they really don't like it. And they will play very badly to prevent it after they see what's going on. And from that, you can actually beat the shit out of them. Alright. Frothing Berserker. I've used these guys quite nicely. I've gotten them up to 17 each. A lot of times I use them to kind of sucker play out a big game hunter, which works brilliantly. And then, oh, look at that. I get to play Dr. Boom next turn. Have a nice day. Yeah. Pretty fucking good. I really do like Frothing Berserkers in this deck. Because even if you hold them to the very, very end, which is still a really good thing to do, most of the time they're going to waste everything on you know, your Dr. Boom and just trying to stop you from doing what you're going to do, and then they'll have nothing left for the Frothings. True fact. Alright. Deathbite, because Whirlwind effect and it's a 4 damage weapon. Dread Corsair, because a little bit of taunt is good, and the fact that you can play it for free if you have Deathbite in hand is also very nice. Kor'kron Elite. This is one of the other techs in the deck that I think is fucking amazing. Simply put, this allows you to just, you know, push damage, because you don't have to always go for the Patron board build. There are other ways you can win this game. If you'll notice later on, you've got Dr. Boom, and you've got Grommash Hellscream, so you have other options. So adding in a little bit of charge gives you utility of removal and or just pure face damage. And let's be honest, we've got 2 weapons that do 8 damage. So that's 16 right there, plus these guys, that's another 8. If you want to take everything straight to the face. So you could actually go pure aggression with this deck and get really, really good. It has a lot of different nuances and ways to play to be good. It all depends on what you're facing up against. True fact. Grim Patron, because it's a fucking Patron deck. Come on now. I mean, we got so many whirlwind effects, things like Inner Rage. They are ungodly. Against Druids, this is the fucking card they hate seeing. Dr. Boom, because Boombots are fucking awesome. And because the 7/7 that spawns out shit that could actually kill your opponent is really nice. And following it all up is Grommash Hellscream. Again, we've got a lot of things like Inner Rage, Whirlwinds. Proccing him is not a problem. Getting them down low enough to where he is viable, sometimes is a trick. So, yeah. Now, I have actually had to use this to remove stuff off the board just to go for the next turn lethal. Or to force him to do something that allowed me to go for next turn lethal. Which, yeah, hey, guess what? It worked. So, but most of the time, this is face. So, yeah. I love this deck. I'm not a huge fan of Patrons. I really have never been. I found their playing to be kind of like that cheesy, overpowered style. And, like, the moment I saw the style of play, I was like, how the fuck is this legitimate when fucking Hunter OTK wasn't? And it's funny, people tried to argue with me about that, and all their arguments were pretty much kind of like straw mans in many ways, but they just never were overly convincing. So, yeah. Alright, so we've talked about the deck, we've talked about some of the cool synergies and this, that, and the other. Well, you know, let's get to the overly fun part, shall we? Alright, so here we go into a game. I apologize for the audio being muted, but when this was recorded, I had my music blaring, and, well, as we know, Digital Millennium Copyright Act kinda sucks. True fact. Alright, so we're gonna be up against a Warlock. Alright, so opening hand-wise, yeah, it's not overly bad. We're going to keep the Deathbite because that's a good thing. But then we get the second one. That kind of feels really bad. But fuck it. We'll work with it. Alright, so we get the Grim Patron. Not ideally what we want to see, but we're going to play the waiting game. Very, very patient. We don't want him to kind of figure out what we're doing right away. Not yet, at least. Alright, so we got the Unstable Ghoul. We've got Whirlwind effects for days, son. Days! Alright, so this is either a Reno or a Handlock deck, which we're okay with. Now, we could have brought out the Despite, which really wouldn't have been nearly as effective. So we're just going to armor up, put that out there, and see what he does. Now, this makes me think Reno, but at the same time, maybe not. So we're going to go with the Despite play here, and still keep one armor. It's a good trade, and it made perfect sense. Now, we'll be able to set up a really nice board here that he'll inevitably be forced to use an AoE on, or take a fuck ton of damage. Now, this is still making me think Handlock or Reno, and that's really starting to push me to the whole Reno aspect here. Alright. So our play is actually very, very simple. Now, I could have coined here and gone for the Whirlwind. I opted not to just because AoEs. And Warlocks have two really nasty ones they can use. And I want to see if he actually has one. If he doesn't play one here, then I know I'm in a good position for a few turns. Or at least one turn. And if this is a Handlock style, I have to be very, very, very concerned about those Molten Giants. So zerging him down right away, probably not in my best interest. Even though I do have almost lethal in hand. Almost lethal. So he's trying to figure out what exactly he wants to do here. That delay tells me he did not have one card. Now this is actually a really fucking legitimate play. It was extremely effective. I tip my hat off to this guy for it. I think it was actually pretty well done. So now we're going to go for the Whirlwind here, just to double up our board. Now, if he's got an AoE right now, that's going to be really good. But we've done quite a bit of damage. Now, we have done something slightly foolish here and set him into perfect Molten Giant territory. But at this point, we're saying you either have it or you don't. So he goes with the Explosive Sheep, which is not a bad play, and he goes with the Demon Wrath. This is a phenomenal combination of cards here. Very well done. But it still does leave me a remainder of 2. And he goes for the Doomsayer, but that's just not going to do it. We still had lethal. So, I mean, as you can see, you can apply a lot of pressure with the deck early on, even against more control-heavy decks like a Handlock, or in this case, I'm pretty sure that was a Reno deck, the way that it, some of the stuff it had in it. So, yeah, you could definitely apply that pressure, which is something you need to do against those Reno decks, and it's just a true fact of life. So yeah, the deck definitely can be played multiple different ways to great effect, depending on what you're facing off against. So identification of what you're facing off against is going to be crucial in the first 3 turns. If you want to go super aggressive, you got to make sure it's a deck that's more control-oriented. If you want to go more strategic, you know, got to be able to identify that what you're playing against is going to allow you to do that. So yeah. But anyway, that's the deck. It's a lot of fun, guys. Seriously, check that shit out. If you like these videos, please like, subscribe, leave comments down below. Let me know what you think. Try this deck out. I know me and Crane had a little bit of a war of words back in the day over some stupid shit, but hey, that's cool. The man is a phenomenal fucking player and obviously a really good deck designer, and fucking hats off to you, sir, man. That is just a fucking great deck. I've been having a lot of fun with it. I'm going to continue to have a lot of fun with it. I thank you so much for bringing this to the fucking game. Anyway, till next time, this is Shiv saying stay safe, have fun, and may RNGesus bless you. Peace.